So tonight we're going to be spending about 60 minutes divided into 4 key sections. For this first part of the evening, we will be going through the mechanisms of NHD and how that exactly will work. And we will answer the questions such as what are the categories, what will the virtual contest website look like, what do evaluations look like, and who fills them out. The next part will be about the different rounds of judging. We will have 2 rounds of judging this year. And the third, we will explain what to expect when you come back and join us over Zoom again on our virtual judging nights, as well as what to expect if you were going to be coming in person to Delaware Valley University. And lastly, we will be looking at how exactly to fill out our evaluation forms so that students get the most possible benefit out of them. I will leave plenty of time to answer any questions you might have at the end of the call. And if you think of any questions afterwards or while we are discussing, please feel free to reach out. I'm always reachable by email, and I'll have all that information at the end. To start, I wanted to thank everybody for volunteering to be a judge at the contest this year. Whether it is continued support over multiple years or new this year, we could not do this program without all of our judges. You were very crucial in making NHD a success every year. So I'm going to move to the next slide. So this is how we're going to go over a little bit of the logistics of National History Day and the process. And how a project starts and how it becomes what you will see at the end. And after, we will review the procedures on how you will judge your projects this year. So broad first, what is National History Day? National History Day is a highly regarded academic program for elementary and secondary students. It began in 1974 on the campus of Case Western University in Ohio. And the idea was the brainchild of a history professor who was worried about the decline of the humanities in general and history in particular in America's schools. Today, it's a nationwide competition for students in 6th through 12th grade, and it's very similar to the science fair format. There are hundreds of students on the regional level, state, and national level doing historical research and digging into historical events to create their projects. We are excited to see how excited they are about history. Next. So National History Day gets students out of the classroom and into the world as historians. They are doing research, they are tracking down information about historical events and figures. Their research leads them to craft a thesis and build an original conclusion that they share through their different projects. Students have the choice to either create a paper, a website, a documentary, a performance, or an exhibit to communicate their historical argument and research. NHD supports and reinforces critical writing, reading, and research skills for students. So the contest progression for NHD starts at the school level. Many schools participate in school contests and promote their students to the next level, which is our regional contest. And we are the regional coordinators for Bucks County and Montgomery counties. As you notice, the arrows in this get a little bit smaller as less and less students progress through to the state and then the national level. Though most of the entries you will see at our competition will not move on to the next level of states, it's our goal to provide the students with a positive and memorable experience that will encourage them to keep learning about history. So each of you will be assigned to judge a certain category. They are papers, websites, performances, and exhibits. The paper category is the only one that is an individual category, which means that students cannot submit papers as groups. For all the other 4 categories, submissions can be either individual or in groups of 2 to 5 students. Each category is also divided into 2 divisions. They can be the junior division, which is 6th through 8th grade, and the senior division, which is 9th through 12th grade. For an example, in the documentary category, students will be divided into junior individuals, junior groups, senior individuals, and senior groups. And then students will be judged based on those subcategories. So this year, our annual theme is turning points in histories. Every year, students need to design their project in relation to one of these common themes. The national office sets the theme each year so that every student has this guide to their projects. The annual theme is broad on purpose so that students keep a really wide variety. Okay. It's brought on purpose, and we ask judges keep an open mind about all the projects they are reviewing. You might personally like, dislike, be excited about, or tired of seeing a certain project, but remember to be consistently and fairly judging each student project, regardless of your personal feelings on the theme. The life cycle of a student's project is usually between September and June. As I mentioned previously, some student schools incorporate National History Day into their social studies classes and their curriculum, and students will begin talking about their project with their teachers as early as September and doing research on what they want to do, and then it can extend all the way through the school year, especially if they move their way from regionals to states and the national competition, which is in June. After choosing their own topics, students do historical research, build a thesis, and analyze their sources. Their projects are not just book reports. They analyze the information and they come up with their own conclusions and historical arguments. This is all in the process of creating their entry and then presenting it at the competition. Your part of the process is then to give them constructive feedback on their projects. If they're moving on to the state level, it's helpful for them to tweak their projects and continue to make them better for the next level. But as well as that they don't move on, it's helpful if they continue to do a project the following year, as well as learning to improve their own research and critical analysis. You've seen the category breakdown a couple of times so far. Tomorrow in the morning, you will be receiving your specific category assignment, and you will be judging one of these 5 following categories: papers, websites, documentaries, performances, and exhibits. So let's get into the process of actually judging projects. As I mentioned before, all judges work in a team about 2 to 3 with a judge captain on each team. If you are the judge captain, you will be notified ahead of time. Your job as the captain is to click the buttons at the end of the judging night where you submit the rankings. So that's the single goal that makes, or the single role that makes being the judge captain different, is that you will submit your rankings for the entire team. The judge team must reach consensus about the projects they're evaluating. So that's the #1 goal, is that you'll talk through the different projects that you were assigned and come to a consensus and a decision of what your ranking would be of those projects. This year, as you are aware, our regional contest is virtual and in person. All students submitted their project digitally, and you, our judges, will be able to access and evaluate these projects through the virtual judge contest or contest website where you apply to be a judge. So everybody should have an account there. We are going to be walking through the process tonight of logging in, viewing these projects, filling out the evaluation form, submitting rankings, and interviewing students. On March 16th, judges will meet with the students and ask them questions based on the prompts that we will provide. The interview questions are based on the content and their development. Ultimately, the rule book says that entry should stand on their own without this interview. So this is why we evaluate our projects ahead of time and rank them ahead of time virtually before the interview round. The virtual judging is divided into 2 components: the first round and the second round. You will receive your judging schedule by category and date. The rounds that we have are based on the number of entries. If there are more entries in a specific category, there might need to be a second round. So depending on the role, or depending on the round, you have a different role. So round 1. Round 1 will get the first look at all of the student projects. You will basically be filling out what appears to be a survey or the student evaluation, and your projects will be available to start looking at tomorrow on February 22nd in the morning when I send the emails. And it will be in your judging portal on your account. You will each fill out these forms on your own before your round 1 judging meeting on Zoom. And you can see the dates listed here, which is March 4th, March 5th, and March 6th, depending on which category you're looking at. On each of those nights, you will about have 2 hours to talk about student projects with about 10 minutes to discuss each one, and then the rest to deliberate. By the end of round 1 in all categories, the person designated as the captain will take the consensus first place, second place, third place, and fourth place and type those rankings right into the system. It might sound strange, but all other student projects after that will be ranked at 99. That's just so our system can put the top 4 at the top and 99 is all at the bottom for when they get to move on to the next round. After that, your work is done. Remember that all the bubbles you fill out and the comments you make in round 1 will be seen by the students. So we are going to look at how to make some nice quality comments in a couple minutes. Round 2 is all the top projects from round 1, and they will be sent to a second round, again, to get the first, second, third, and fourth place of the entire category and division. And all other projects, again, will be ranked at a 99. And all the categories will be looked at the second round on the next Monday, which is March 11th. In round 2, judges will not be filling out any bubbles or making comments. They will simply get together and discuss and rank the projects after coming to a consensus. The round 2 judge captain will have a place to summarize the comments from their team's discussion. So they will be the only one who can make a comment. Based on how nationals is set up, since round 1 judges have already filled out the evaluations, round 2 judges just need to hone in on the rank of the projects, and you serve as a second set of judges to confirm the category winners and add a couple more comments. You will not be able to see the comments and the bubbles of the previous round 1 judges. Your eyes are fresh, and they will have an unbiased and fair view of these new final projects. Prior to your judging nights of both round 1 and 2, you can make your own comments and your own ideas about the merits of each project, and then come to the Zoom to discuss. So what to expect on judging nights. You will receive the email with the dates for each category and the night you will be joining us, myself and Maddie, on Zoom. Your judge teams will be in breakout rooms throughout that night to discuss the different projects. You'll have 2 hours with 10 minutes to discuss each project, the remaining time to deliberate. Maddie and I will be available to answer all questions that you might have, or just help in any way. And you should all be able to log into your judge portals that night and then view the projects and input your rankings. Round 1 judges, your evaluation forms with the comments and the bubbles filled out should be completed before arriving to the judging night. Round 2 judges, your evaluation comment box can have some notes, but you should expect to add more once you talk with your team. So competition day. This year, all students, teachers, and some of our judges, but not all, will be meeting in person at Delaware Valley University on March 16th, 2024. Exhibit students will bring their exhibits to display, and performance students will be doing their performances in person. While all judges have already read and evaluated projects based on their digital submissions, judges will have the opportunity to give additional feedback during the student interview. Judges who will be coming to Delaware Valley University will be sent more detailed information about when to arrive, where to park, your interview schedule in the coming weeks. And upon arrival, you'll check in with our team, and we will hold a brief orientation before sending you to your appropriate rooms. And there'll be breakfast refreshments. As we've already discussed, judges will be viewing all of these projects ahead of time this year. This allows for more thoughtful feedback to be provided to the students on their evaluation forms. However, it's a really important part of the NHD experience to have these in-person on-site student interviews. At least one judge from every round 1 team will meet with the students of the projects which they reviewed. These interviews will last no more than 10 minutes, and there'll be a 5-minute buffer between each set of students that you'll be speaking with. Students who have a group project will all be interviewed together. These interviews provide student participants an opportunity to share about their work in an academic setting that's outside of the classroom. The interviews are a learning experience for the students. Each judge will have a form to add some additional comments based on their interview. Some students are really great with interviews. Some might need a little bit more constructive criticism on how to be a little bit better at it. And it's your job as a judge to help them with this learning process. And these are skills that will really serve the students in the future. For students, the chance to talk with adults and share about their work is a very important professional development opportunity. And feedback specific to that experience is very valuable to them. As I alluded to previously, NHD judges evaluate projects on whether primary sources are used and whether their written materials are grammatically correct, as well as the student's analysis and conclusions on the historical data. The project should stand alone from the student interview and the comments from the students. We'll briefly talk about the process of interviewing the students. In your packet, you'll get of the day of judging. You'll be given a set of prompt questions with space to write. And this is for your notes as you talk to the students. You can see an example one on the left from last year. And it'll be pretty much the same this year. Then the second piece of paper you'll get is the official comment evaluation form. So you can summarize your comments and your thoughts. This will be turned into our staff at the end of your interviews and given back to the students. Each of the comment forms will be pre-labeled with the students' names and project that you'll be seeing. The first couple of questions you can see are very broad and general. This helps students get at ease at speaking and show them that the interview is not a scary process. Then the questions will get more specific about the research done on the project and their methodology. So here are some interview don'ts that you may want to be aware of while judging, so you can just try to avoid them. Don't lecture the students on their topic. The time is for students to add to their project, not for the judges to talk through the 10 minutes. 10 minutes goes by very quickly. Please don't make any comments about how they did overall or in comparison to other students or projects, and avoid saying anything like, "This is the best project I've seen all day." The interview is also not time to add suggestions for improvement. Your comments on the judge evaluation forms will serve that purpose. And though we've already said it tonight, remember that you may be biased towards or against a certain project. Try to be aware of this and prevent it from affecting how you judge. Be thoughtful in your comments and use this interview time to hear from the students themselves. If there are guests watching the presentations, do your best to separate where you, the judges, are sitting from where the audience is in the room. This helps the students focus on the judge throughout the interview process. Okay, I'm going to pause here to see if there's any quick questions you might have about the judging nights or your roles before we go into the actual judge portal system that I'm going to show you. Okay, great. I am going to switch my screen. I'm going to share up a new screen. So this is our ZFairs website that everybody should have made an account on. That's how you're all here. And so this is the judge. I logged into a judge account. I made a fake one for this. So for the virtual contest, you'll need to log into your account. And once then, you can see here we have a couple of important links, which is the NHD contest rules and the theme book. You can familiarize yourself with both documents. So to access the judging portal, you go to the top of the screen and you'll click judging. And then you'll click judge portal. And you can see here that I've thrown myself into an already existing judge portal. So this is where you will see your projects. You'll be able to fill out your evaluations and submit your rankings. The names of the contacts of the other judges in your group will be at the top. This one just has 4 because I added myself to it today. The judge assignment section will list all of the projects that your team will evaluate. To view each project, you'll be able to click view and evaluate on the button. So I will click view and evaluate on this project right here, just to show you what the bubbles that I was talking about earlier in the comments. So this will open up a new tab in your browser, and then you'll be able to see how to make some comments right here. And at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's some rules compliance about, and this will give you options of saying yes or no, depending on category rules. If you select no, you'll have to provide an explanation of why they may have not hit that rule. And then the last section at the bottom here, you can see there's 2 different boxes. One is the comments that the students will see. This is a required minimum of 300 characters for their strengths and areas of improvement. And the last box is your personal notes. This is not a character maximum or a minimum, and students will not see these notes. This is just for your own reference. And then at the very bottom, you'll be able to click save, which will save your work for if you want to come back to it later. And the other option is save and share with team, which will let your other judge team members be able to see your comments at the end. Each judging form should not be identical. Instead, they should be complementary in tone and range, meaning that if one judge is clicking fair, the other one should not be saying superior. So they should be similar but different. Do not put the actual rankings anywhere on your judging form. Students will get these, and it's not appropriate to return it with their ranking, even if they're the winner at number one. If you need to make changes to your rankings and want to sketch them out ahead of time, you can use this personal note section for that. So I'm going to return to the PowerPoint and sketch it. So that's what we did, accessing student projects. So what makes a good evaluation? Our biggest goal is to encourage the students to keep learning and keep growing. And we can do this through constructive comments and feedback and providing a welcoming, positive environment for them to present their research. You, our judges, are here to help do this. Your role as a judge is to examine the student projects and to evaluate those projects based on that evaluation form that has specific criteria and parameters tying to the annual theme. As a judge, you are determining which students will be moving on to the state competition, and it's you who decides if the students have adequately explained their topics and related them to this year's theme, which is turning points in history. Not all of you will be filling out evaluation forms, but it's very important that all of our judges understand the criteria by which student projects are evaluated, so they can be ranked accordingly. No matter if you are filling out the form or not, we want to remind all of our judges to be encouraging and positive. These are middle and high school students, not college level, and we ask our judges to be consistent and fair and give students feedback that you would like to receive. So let's get into what you're evaluating. The national office has worked with teachers and coordinators to create the evaluation form that we use. On the judge evaluation forms, there are two rubric sections: historical quality and clarity of presentation. Historical quality is by far the most important factor in judging. It should be given a lot of your attention. Students are not just memorizing and recounting facts, they should be interpreting and analyzing these facts. The project must have a strong thesis statement, and students must have a conclusion based on their research. They should be reflecting on their topic from a historical perspective, which might include causes and consequences, relation of a local event to a larger significance, etc. There should be a balance of primary and secondary sources that consider a variety of viewpoints. We are looking for projects that offer thoughtful analysis with well-rounded conclusions at the end. Students should be clearly stating why their topic is significant in history and how it relates to this year's theme of turning points in history. Remember that fame does not necessarily mean significance. Just because a person or an event is famous does not make it significant. We want students to be able to explain to their judges why they think their topic is significant and how their sources help to prove that statement. The second section, which we give about 20% of importance to, is the clarity of presentation. And that's all about their presentation, appearance, their grammar, and use of equipment. This section is customized to each category, so it represents what judges are looking for when they evaluate a different category. For example, a paper versus a documentary will have different parts of their clarity of presentation. Some projects may be very well executed, beautiful, elaborate, but if the historical significance is not well represented, you want your evaluation to reflect that. Just because it's cute doesn't mean it gets to win. So round one judges, we want to take a couple minutes to discuss what makes a good comment. These tips are helpful for thinking about projects and how to rank them, and can be useful for round two judges as well. Tell the students why their aspect of the project was fair or superior, the different levels of bubble, with specific examples of how to improve. Even if students don't advance the next round of competition, they will be growing as young historians and researchers. A helpful tactic can be to ask questions in your comments. Why did the Apollo moon landing revolutionize space research and communication? How do you think that carrier pigeons influence the outcome of the war? Questions can help students thinking about their projects from a different perspective, or perhaps in a way they haven't thought of before. Remember, every project has redeemable qualities. Try to sandwich constructive criticism between these compliments. The students work very hard on these projects. You might find this table on the slide here helpful when thinking about your evaluation forms. It's a breakdown of turning thoughts into constructive comments. Some of the examples you'll see are, this project needs a lot of work. You can instead say, you were off to a good start, but consider strengthening your work by doing X, Y, Z. Instead of saying, the documentary sound quality was awful, you can say, the poor audio quality of your documentary distracted from the overall project. Consider testing your audio on different systems or with settings ahead of time. This is just an idea to give you an idea of how to word these constructive comments so students can learn from them. So National History Day has specific sets of rules for every entry and category. You will have access to the contest rulebook on the judge portal, as I showed you earlier, and I'll be sending out abbreviated comments rules for each category with your category assignments tomorrow. Many of these projects will be very close in your judging, so consulting the rules may help you determine which one might be ranked above the other. In the deliberation process, you might have a couple of questions about infractions and disqualifications. This table is very helpful in deciphering what counts as a minor infraction, a major infraction, or cause for disqualification. Both minor and major infractions should be noted in the comments of your judge evaluation forms. Minor infractions should not prevent a project from advancing, but can be considered more when you're trying to break a tie. Any projects with major infractions, however, should not rank first, second, or third. But there are three specific things that can cause disqualification, which we will go over in the next slide. So the three causes for disqualification are plagiarism, reusing an entry from a previous year, or tampering with another student's entry. Something important to note for you all is that no entries are disqualified on the spot by judges. So if you have any concerns where you are concerned where an entry broke one of these offenses, please report it to us at the administrative staff. We will be the ones who can investigate and take action. Disqualification is very hard to prove. We want to make sure that the competition is fair for all students. So I put our email address, historyday@mercermuseum.org. So please write to us if you think you have a disqualifying offense. And as we get to the end of the training tonight, I wanted to quickly debunk some myths that we have found in National History Day. These relate to specific categories. For exhibit and website judges, please remember that not every exhibit or website needs to have a timeline. Even though they're a helpful tool, students do not need to have them to move on. Performance judges should remember that songs are also not required. They can certainly add to a project, but projects without songs can be just as good, if not better, than projects with songs. In documentaries, student-conducted interviews or oral history interviews are not required either. They can be included, but they are not a must. If the oral history is included, the oral history should have been conducted by one of the students. For all judges, just a reminder that glitz doesn't win. If a project is beautiful and catches your eye, that is great, but we want to make sure that the historical research, the relation to the theme, and the clarity of the project are also there. Also, there is no winning formula for a student entry. They come in all shapes and sizes, so keep an open mind and consider each project with a fresh eye. Lastly, there's the 30-year myth, which is that events need to be 30 years old to be considered history. For example, a project on 9/11 can be historical in nature, but maybe a project on COVID might be more of a current events and not history. So there's flexibility in what we consider to be history. It does not need to be 30 years old to qualify. So that was a bunch of information in a small amount of time, and I definitely want to leave some time for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to shout them out now or put them in the chat. I'm gonna stop the share. And then this is just my contact information, historyday@mercermuseum.org. And then this is my direct phone line. So I'm gonna stop sharing and we can review questions if anybody has any. I see there's a couple chats.
Professor Maple Leaf, will you be in your office tomorrow morning?
Yes, I will be in my office tomorrow.
Okay, I'd like to stop by and talk.
Okay, sounds good.
And Maddie, it's nice to see you back.
I'm reading some of the comments that I think I've already answered. And then how far back from today is considered history. That's, I think, basically what the 30-year myth is, where it doesn't need to be a specific amount of time. And another question I see right now, will students see each of the judges' evaluation sheets or just one per judge team? The students will see the evaluation sheets of everybody who has made comments. So if you make comments in round 1, the students will see your evaluation sheet. So everybody from round 1, and then from round 2, it'll be the judge captain where they leave a couple of comments after the deliberation, as I said. So they'll get comments from that. I see I have her hand raised, so Bobby, you can talk.
Let me just make sure the mute is fine. Thank you for this opportunity. Just a real quick question. One of the criteria that you listed, like a danger sign, is the reuse of an entry. How would we know that? I mean, that seems kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
We were here last year.
That's a good question, and we don't expect you to be able to know that. I think it's only if you're seeing something that makes it clearly look like a project that was reused. That's the only time you will ever know. So we don't expect anybody to be able to figure out more than that. So it's just that there's something very clear in the project that either it looks like it was definitely copy and pasted from another year, or maybe they even reference something that they wouldn't have known for this year. Like if they talk about the wrong annual theme, you would know it's from the past year. But that's a good question. Thank you. Anybody else with questions? Turnitin.com. We've never recommended using it. I'm sure people may have, but we don't require everybody to put projects in through Turnitin. I think all these projects have been, teachers do bring in the students with the projects. So I will hope that some teachers will, do that themselves. So you're not required to put it in through Turnitin or any other copywriting software or plagiarism software. Any other questions? Okay, well, if that's all, I will end the recording and end the Zoom. Thank you everybody for coming tonight, and thank you especially for being judges. None of this could happen without all of you, so we really appreciate your help, whether it's your first time or been here before I even started doing it. We really appreciate it, and we're really looking forward to the competition this year, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the different judging nights where we get to discuss the projects, and of course in person at Del Val if you're one of our in-person judges, and if you're virtual and not even in the state of Pennsylvania, thank you as well. So thanks for coming, everybody. Enjoy dinner if you have not ate dinner yet.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night, all.